Thanks so much, and welcome to the final session of the day. My name is Laura Aaron. I'm with a company called MMPI Canada, and we run the Canadian Apartment Investment Conference. Some of you may be familiar with that. It takes place on September 14th this year. We also run an event called PM Expo that's going to start on November 30th down at the Convention Centre. It's Canada's largest trade show and conference for property managers. And it's my pleasure today to introduce Tyler Calder. Tyler is the Director of Paid Search at Search Engine People. And as many of you know, Search Engine People is one of Canada's largest and most trusted internet marketing companies. Tyler runs a team of pay-per-click specialists and works on highly successful campaigns for both SMP and enterprise-level clients. So with that, I'll introduce Tyler. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that round of applause. Last session of the day, I didn't expect that. Oh, was that for you? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll get mine at the end. I look forward to it. So we actually don't have too much time, and I know people are probably itching to try to beat rush hour traffic. So I am going to move quickly, but I'm going to stop at the key points, the key takeaways, the things that you can bring back to the office, you can start implementing and hopefully seeing results right away. But this is all about pay-per-click. My name is Tyler Calder. I manage the paid search group at Search Engine People. There's a little quote. I don't know if I made that up or if I heard that somewhere and stole it, but it is absolutely true. Pay-per-click can take minutes to set up, but it really takes a lot of testing, experimenting, dedication to really figure it out and really get the results that everybody hopes to get out of their campaign. So what I'm going to talk about today is really that first step, getting your structure going, doing that initial keyword research and having a really good base, a really good foundation that sets you up for success. Just that standard slide, I'm just going to skip right over. So very briefly, 101, make sure we're all on the same page, that we all know we're talking about the sponsored listings, the pay-per-click ads, the paid search, whatever you want to call it, we're talking about the ads as opposed to the organic listings. Then I'm going to go over a couple key best practices that you absolutely need to take into consideration when you're building out a campaign yourself, or if you've hired somebody to build it out for you, what you need to make sure that they're doing on your behalf. And then a couple new features that I want to touch on that specifically Google has released in the past little while that you can take advantage of to give yourselves a little bit of a boost in terms of driving some results. So again, very quickly, we are talking about the paid search, what I've highlighted there as green. The red, I'm not too concerned about at this point. If you were in the session previous to this break, that was all about organic, or at least one of them was. So how does it work? Very simply, somebody types in a query into Google. And the key point that I want to make here is that this is an auction. Somebody types in a keyword. You are bidding on that keyword. One of the things that I hear often is, we're buying that keyword, I own that space. That's not the case. It's an auction. You're up against a number of other people who may be bidding on that keyword as well. So that's very important to take into consideration because there's a lot of things that you need to do in terms of bidding keyword selection to try to, quite frankly, outsmart your competitors. And then Google, if you've won that auction or you're eligible to appear in that auction, they will show your ad. Another distinction that I wanted to make was about landing pages, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But the key thing here is that your landing page has two audiences. One is for the search engine, one is for the user. In terms of the search engine, I'm going to talk about quality score, but your landing page is a component of that quality score. That score is something that will dictate how much you pay, how relevant Google thinks you are. So we want to make sure that there is that relevancy there. Whatever the person's expecting to see when they click on that ad, that's what you give them in that landing page. And then, of course, that follows through the customer also being somebody you need to think about when you develop this landing page. You want to provide a good user experience for it. So jumping right into some of these best practices. there's really three very, very important factors that we're going to talk about today, and that this is really how the presentation is structured. Keywords, ad copy, landing pages. These three things need to be thought of. They need to be scoped out. This is the planning stage. This, from the outset, is what will set your foundation. I've taken over a number of pay-per-click accounts that are underperforming. The client really isn't getting the results that they're looking for. And every single time it can be traced back to the fact that that initial structure, that initial build, wasn't strong. There were cracks in it. There's cracks in that foundation. And it's not going to support as you grow. So this is key. We need to focus on these three factors when we're building out an account. And I'm going to get into them further in a little bit. This is an example hierarchy of an account structure. Again, I hope I'm not killing this to death, but structure is so important. And this is an example of a very basic structure that one could expect to follow. So at your account level, that's you. That's where you set your invoicing information. That's where you set your user access. That's the account. Your campaign is where you set certain things like your geographic setting, your daily budget, certain things like that. Are you targeting search? Are you targeting the display network? How are your ads going to be rotated in market? Your campaign is where you set all of these different things. So some of those settings will dictate the structure. So geographically, you set your geographic targeting at the campaign level. What we find is, structuring an account, focusing on locations, focusing regionally, is a sure bet to go. Especially when we're talking about this space, apartment rentals, property management companies. People are looking locally, and this is one option in terms of structuring your account. So in this example, we simply have Toronto, Vancouver. We're targeting those two locations, nobody outside, just people within that. Under your campaign, you have your ad groups. Your ad groups are your groupings of keywords. They're your like-minded keywords. It's also what houses your ad copy. The key here is that you don't go too big. We want to see very, very, very tight ad groups. And when I say tight, I mean the keywords in there need to be related to each other. What we don't want to see, or what you don't want to do, is include 100 different keywords that are irrelevant to each other. Even having apartment rental versus condo rental, those two things I would separate. Those would be two separate ad groups. And the reason for that really is your ad copy. Your ad copy is also housed in your ad group. We want to make sure that that ad is speaking to the user. If somebody's looking for a Toronto condo rental, the ad should say that. If somebody's looking for a Toronto apartment rental, the ad should say that. What you don't want to do is have all of these people looking for slightly different things and the ad trying to speak to all of them with the same generic message. If somebody's looking for a 2-bedroom apartment to rent in King West and you have that available, you're bidding on that keyword as well, the ad should say that. That's what's going to draw the user in. That's what's going to qualify the user. You're not getting irrelevant clicks. You're not paying for that irrelevant traffic. The person that clicks on that ad is going to be much more likely to convert to call when they hit your site. So that's what I'm talking about when I say very, very tightly focused. Is that all clear? I heard one yes, so I'm going to move on. Keyword selection. Again, very important. One of the things that we need to understand is the behavior of the user, of your customer. There's a lot of talk about the long tail, about head terms. What does it all mean? Quite simply, here I've broken it down into three phases. The first phase is your very generic keyword. It's somebody looking for more information. Maybe they're really not sure what it is they're looking for. The example I use here is just quite simply apartments. What does that mean? If we simply bid on the word apartments, we're bringing in a lot of traffic. Some of it will be good, some of it will be bad. It's going to be expensive, it's going to be low converting. It may fill your funnel. That's the top of the cycle. So hopefully if we're going after those keywords as a strategy, that we also have a strategy to re-engage them, to bring them back at the end of the cycle. In the middle ground there, we have those 2 to 3 keyword phrases. And I think this is where more people are falling. A year ago, when I would look at accounts, do audits on accounts, take over accounts, most people were still going after those one-word phrases, two-word phrases, very generic. People are getting better. People are starting to structure their campaigns around those 2 to 3 keyword phrases, which is good. The key, again, is to make sure that the ad copy speaks to what those keywords are. And then one step further, going after the longer tail. So again, the example I use here, 2-bedroom King West apartment rentals. We know exactly what that user is looking for. It's going to be low volume, but it's going to be highly, highly targeted. When that person clicks on that ad, they are going to be engaged with the site, especially if you deliver them to the right landing page. If you deliver them to a page that speaks to King West, you've grabbed them. And that's how targeted we want to get, because this is a very competitive space. And so we want to make sure that we've done our due diligence to get very focused. Very quickly, the keyword tool, Google's keyword tool. Is there a, yes? Yes and no. I'm going to talk about that. There's different match types within Google. There's broad, phrase, exact. If you are bidding, let's say all exact match across the board, you've gone with an exact match strategy, then yes, those words absolutely do make a difference. If you have some broad match keywords in there, chances are you're going to capture that traffic, but you're also going to be capturing some irrelevant traffic. So the key for us and for you is to find out what all of those slight variations are and build ad groups around them. So the keyword tool, how many people have used this tool, are familiar with the tool? A couple people. So this is a free tool. If you just simply Google keyword tool, it will be the first result that pops up. And what this tool will do is give you suggestions on additional keywords. So in this example, it doesn't seem like you can probably see it all that well, but I've just put in Toronto apartment rentals. And what Google has done is given me a list of other variations that may be relevant. From there, we can go through that list. We can say, yep, that is absolutely relevant. Let's build an ad group around it. No, that isn't relevant. Let's forget about it for now. What it will also tell you is what the monthly search volume is. They say it's local monthly search volume. The one thing to know here is local to Google means Canada. So if you put in Toronto apartment rentals, that's not Toronto when it says there's 40,000 searches. That's Canada-wide. The other thing it will show you are estimated cost per clicks. So it'll give you an estimation around how much it will cost if you bid on that keyword and somebody clicks on your ad. So if you've done the math and you've figured out, basically what you can afford on a cost per click basis, this is a great tool to say, you know what, this keyword is either too expensive for me, I'm not even going to try it, or this is right in my range, this is perfect, I'm going to go after this. The other thing you can do, and I'm going to point it out right there with my laser, is you can actually put in your website and then hit search, and Google will spit back all of the keywords that it thinks your site is about. So that does a couple things. One is it tells you whether or not your site is actually relevant. You may think you're speaking to the user, but Google will come back and say, well, based on what I'm seeing on your website, this is what I get out of it. And so it'll tell you, again, two things. Is your website saying what you think it's saying? And if it is, it will give you relevant keywords that you can then segment very easily into ad groups and write ad copy.